He bought a man's silence. He bought a plane ticket. But what he couldn't buy was love. Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we step into one of the darkest chapters of James and Diep's journey. The moment James's father made a deal that would shatter lives, tear apart a family, and send James away without a chance to say goodbye. Meanwhile, Diep faces a warning that chills her to the bone, and then loses sight of Ly for just 1 second. 1 second that could have destroyed everything. If you enjoy powerful, emotional storytelling like this, please subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subs. Your support truly means the world. The workshop smelled of sawdust, old machines, and secrets people weren't meant to hear. Dust floated through the dim air like drifting ghosts. Every corner was swallowed in shadow, except for the space where James's father sat, perfectly composed in a sharp black suit that didn't belong in a place like this. He looked like a businessman visiting a crime scene, not a father worried about his son. Across from him sat the old man, shirt faded, hands rough from decades of labor. He tried to steady his cigarette, but it trembled between his fingers. He knew someone powerful only came here for one reason: to make something disappear. James's father leaned back slightly, voice cold enough to freeze the room. My son wants to marry a poor, uneducated girl. I need him out of the country today. There was no anger in his tone, no heartbreak, only calculation. Each word felt like a blade drawn slowly across the air. The old man swallowed hard and shook his head. James is my friend. I can't do that. A small, chilling smile crept onto the father's face. He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a thick folder, and pushed it across the table with one finger. This entire workshop, he said calmly, plus the Van Juan branch, all yours. The cigarette slipped from the old man's lips and landed on the dusty floor. In exchange, the father continued, you make James disappear from that girl's life. You don't have to hurt him. In fact, don't touch my son at all. His eyes darkened. The girl is up to you. Silence suffocated the room. A saw buzzed loudly in the background, and then suddenly stopped, leaving a ringing void. The old man stared at the papers, breathing heavily, sweat sliding down the side of his face. He wasn't a saint. He wasn't a hero. He was just a tired old man with debts and a failing business. Turning down an offer like this didn't mean he'd protect James. It only meant someone far more merciless would take the job. He lowered his head. His voice cracked with guilt. Fine, I'll do it. James's father stood with slow, steady movements. He straightened his tie like he'd just finished a casual business deal, not bribed someone to sabotage his son's life. Good, he said softly. Then he paused at the doorway, adding one last dagger. Remember, I only want my son back. The rest, you know what to do. The iron door slammed shut behind him. The old man didn't move. He sat alone in the dark, staring at the folder, fingers gripping it like a confession of sin. He knew this wasn't just paperwork. It was a death sentence, maybe for him, maybe for Diep, maybe for the fragile love he was now paid to destroy. Far away from this darkness, sunlight spilled over a quiet village road. Warm, golden, peaceful, like a completely different world. Diep walked beside the middle-aged uncle, her simple baba shirt fluttering in the breeze. Sweat clung to her forehead, but her smile never dimmed. She was bargaining with an elderly couple for an entire potato field, voice bright and confident. 10 million total, the uncle repeated, grinning. 5 million deposit today. We check the field tomorrow. Diep laughed, handing over the money with careful respect. Her eyes sparkled, not because the deal was huge, but because every tiny success meant she could raise Ly a little better. Every step she took felt like building something for their small, fragile family. Meanwhile, in a polished high-rise miles away, James's phone buzzed. He answered casually, only to hear a voice sharp as ice. "You leave for Cambodia today," his father said. "Papers are ready." James froze. "Why? What happened?" "There's no time," his father cut in. "The car will pick you up in an hour." The line went dead. James stared at the screen, stunned. His father's decisions were usually strict, but this was different. Something felt wrong, but he didn't dare push. Growing up under his father's shadow meant learning one thing early: some questions only lead to consequences. That night, he video called Diep from the airport. The moment her face appeared, sun-kissed, warm, smiling, the ache in his chest deepened. "Work trip," he said, forcing a smile. "Just 2 or 3 days. I'll be back before you know it. Take care of yourself, okay? And make sure Ly eats properly." Diep lifted little Ly into the frame. The child waved enthusiastically. "Travel safely. If it's cold, remember to bring warm clothes." Her voice was soft, trusting, full of the simple love she always gave so easily. She had no idea every caring word she said was falling into a trap quietly closing around her. When the call ended, James walked toward his gate, suitcase rolling behind him. His reflection in the airport window looked tired, like a man walking into fate without knowing the path had already been chosen for him. Back in the village, late afternoon sunlight smeared the dirt road in a fiery orange. Diep rode her motorbike, Ly perched in front, the uncle sitting behind them. Dust kicked up around the wheels as they headed toward home. At a crossroads, an elderly woman, Ly's grandmother, appeared suddenly. One look at Diep, and her entire face drained of color. She spun around and ran. "Grandma!" Diep shouted. "Wait!" Diep accelerated. The old woman stumbled, clutched her chest, gasping for breath. When Diep finally reached her, the grandmother's eyes were wild with fear. "Be careful," she whispered urgently. "James's father, he is ruthless." Diep froze. The grandmother clutched her arm, voice shaking. "Your fate was decided by him long ago. He covers the sky over this place. His power, he can use any method to harm you and Ly." A cold wind swept through Diep's bones. She felt it, something invisible tightening around her throat. "I've been threatened," the grandmother continued, glancing around as if someone might be watching. "I can't say everything. You must discover it yourself." Then she jerked her arm free and rushed into a dark alley, leaving Diep standing alone in the burning sunlight, feeling like the ground itself was tilting under her feet. She didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning of the fear waiting for her. The sun was dipping low when Diep turned back toward the motorbike, and in that fragile moment, her entire world seemed to stop. The front seat was empty. Little Ly, who had been sitting just seconds ago, was nowhere in sight. For a heartbeat, Diep didn't understand. Her mind refused to process what her eyes were seeing. But then reality hit her like a blow to the chest. Her child was gone. A single, raw scream tore from her throat. "Ly? Ly!" Her voice echoed down the long red dust road, frantic and trembling. The uncle jumped off the bike and sprinted in the opposite direction, shouting the girl's name with panic rising in every breath. Even the villagers nearby froze at the sound, because every parent knows that tone. It's the sound of fear, deeper than death. Diep stumbled forward, calling out again and again. She searched bushes, peeked into narrow alleys, pushed through tall grass. Her footsteps were uneven, desperate, guided only by the instinct of a terrified mother. "Baby, don't scare Mommy. Knee!" But there was nothing. No reply. No small voice. No laughter. Only the grandmother's trembling warning, replaying in Diep's mind. "He can use any method to harm you and Knee." As those words echoed, Diep's knees collapsed beneath her. She dropped onto the dirt, fingers clawing into the ground as if she could tear answers from the earth itself. Her tears fell freely, mixing with dust, turning into small dark spots on the road. The uncle returned, breathless, shaking his head in helplessness. "Kong Thai, I can't find her." Diep's body convulsed in sobs. Her entire world, already hanging by a fragile thread, now felt like it was tearing apart. The sun, once warm and golden, now felt harsh and uncaring. Every shadow stretched long across the road, twisting into dark shapes of dread. And then, a sound. Soft, light, out of place. A giggle, a child's giggle. Diep froze. Her breath hitched. She lifted her head slowly toward the banana grove just a few meters away. And there she was, little Knee, running out with a leaf stuck in her hair, dirt on her knees, smiling like the world had never known fear. "Mommy, I was hiding." Diep didn't walk toward her. She lunged. She swept Knee into her arms, holding her with such force the child let out a surprised squeak. But Diep couldn't loosen her grip. She buried her face into Knee's tiny shoulder, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. She held her daughter as if letting go for even 1 second would allow the world to steal her away. "Don't ever, ever do that again," Diep choked out. "Mommy thought she lost you." Knee wrapped her little arms around her mother's neck, confused but gentle. "I'm here, Mommy. Don't cry." The uncle sank to the ground, relief washing over his face. The moment felt like a storm passing, but not without leaving its permanent mark on Diep's heart. Because now, more than ever, she understood. The grandmother's warning was real. The danger was real. And 1 second of carelessness could take away everything she loved. That night, as the village quieted and Knee slept peacefully beside her, Diep lay awake staring at the dark ceiling. The silence pressed heavily on her chest. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Knee's empty seat, heard her own scream ripping across the field. Her body was still, but her mind was spiraling. She thought of James, of how suddenly he had been sent away, how his father's cold, distant voice had always held a strange authority over their lives, how the grandmother had warned her with such trembling fear. Piece by piece, the shadows connected. James didn't leave willingly. Someone forced him. Someone powerful. Someone closer than she wanted to believe. And now, that someone had turned their attention to her and her daughter. Meanwhile, hundreds of kilometers away in a quiet hotel room, James stared at his phone. He'd texted Diep hours ago, but there was still no reply. Every minute made him feel more uneasy. He kept replaying the conversation with his father. The tone, the urgency, the lack of explanation. It wasn't a business trip. It wasn't routine. It wasn't normal. He wanted to call again, but something inside him hesitated. Maybe it was habit, maybe fear. Growing up under his father's rules had conditioned him to obey without question. But now, that obedience came with a price. Distance. Distance from Diep. Distance from Ly. Distance from the life he was building. A distance forced, not chosen. James didn't know it yet, but his father had already made sure a wedge was driven deep into the center of everything he cared about. The next morning, Diep woke with a sharp clarity cutting through her chest. She watched Ly sleeping, small and peaceful, with sunlight touching her hair. The sight brought both comfort and ache. She whispered a promise in her heart, a promise no one could break. No one would threaten her child. No one would break her family, no matter who they were or how powerful they claimed to be. If James was forced away, she needed to know why. If someone wanted to destroy their love, she needed to know who. And if danger was closing in, she needed to protect Ly before anything else. She wasn't just a young mother from the countryside. She was a mother with something to fight for. Far away, inside a polished office, where the air smelled of leather and expensive perfume, James's father reviewed papers with cold precision. An assistant stepped in quietly. "Sir, the old man has agreed. Everything is proceeding as planned." James's father nodded once, as if discussing a business transaction, not the fate of his own son. "Good," he said. "James will forget her." Then with a soft, chilling calm, he added, "And as for the girl, make sure she understands her place." His voice never rose. His tone never shook, but it carried enough weight to crush anyone standing in his path. The first move in his silent war had already begun. And Diep had no idea how deep this battle would go. In this episode, we witness the terrifying moment Diep's peaceful life shatters. After Ly's grandmother appears with a trembling warning about James's father and the power he holds over their fate, Diep turns back to her motorbike, only to find Ly missing. Her desperate search through the red dust road, the bushes, and the fields exposes the raw fear of a mother who knows danger is no longer imaginary. Meanwhile, far away in Cambodia, James struggles with an unexplained business trip forced on him by his father, unaware that his absence was engineered to break him away from Diep. As shadows close in, Diep realizes someone powerful is silently moving against her and her child, and she must uncover the truth before it's too late.